Well, in my continuing effort to find good backpacking hammock camping sites in Minnesota, I found myself at Cooke State Park, 2 hours from the Twin Cities near Carlton, Minnesota. Here's the ranger station. Really nice staff there. I emailed them before I made my camping reservation to ask about which of their 4 remote backpacking sites might be best suited for hammock camping. They very nicely ranked them for me and recommended the High Landing site as the best option. When I checked in, they gave me this sign to put on the dashboard of my car so they know where I am, and when I bring it back, they know that I'm safe. It's a short walk from the parking lot to get to this swinging bridge, which really is the landmark of Cooke State Park. Here's an interpretive sign showing a picture of the bridge after it was severely damaged during a 2012 flood. It's originally a CCC project that's been rebuilt a few times. Here is its current incarnation. It's a cool bridge, it's narrow, and it's very popular, so it's usually full of people. So when you're walking by with a backpack, there's usually a lot of excuse me's and pardon me's involved. While you cross the bridge, you just have to take a few pictures. But like I said, there were crowds on the bridge, and I was eager for the seclusion of camping, and I was happy to get on this trail. It's the Silver Creek Trail, but it's also part of the Superior Hiking Trail. The Silver Creek Trail is a 3.5-mile loop from the swing bridge. It's a pretty easygoing trail, and it has a couple of nice views of the St. Louis River as you walk along it. Here's some random pictures of the trail. I encountered a few people walking the trail in the opposite direction, but as I got farther, there were fewer and fewer. Got a little reedy at some points. Here's a nice trail map. You can see the yellow outlining the loop. The red arrow points to the part of the trail that branches off towards my campsite. I will continue on the Lost Lake Trail and then go towards the High Landing site. Here's the sign for the Lost Lake Trail, and as soon as you get on it, you realize that this is the road less traveled, as it's much more overgrown than the Silver Creek Trail. It isn't long before you get to this bridge over a creek. The ranger station had told me that this would be my water source for my campsite, so I stopped to take a look. A little later, I went under the bridge and I got some water. There's my water filtration bag. After the bridge, you hike about another mile or so on the Lost Lake Trail until you reach this sign that points you to the High Landing site. Also near their sign is a small trail that branches off to this shelter. There's a sign that says it's an Eagle Scout project, which is really cool. It's near this overlook. Beautiful view of the St. Louis River. Somewhere on the right side towards the end of that bend is the Ash Ridge camping site, my nearest neighbor, about 7/10 of a mile away. The last couple of tenths of a mile were a bit of a slog through high, wet weeds. I startled several northern leopard frogs while I was walking through these ferns. Then I reached this clearing and found my site. I was surprised by how large it was and also the number of picnic tables. At Split Rock, I had this half table to myself, but here at High Landings, I had 2 on the right over here. There's also 2 fire rings, another table over here, and yet 1 more table over by the tent pad area. That makes 4. I figured I could have a progressive dinner and eat a different course at each table. Well, here's the nice tent pad of the site. This is a good space. And I really liked this area along the river. I decided to set up my hammock between these 2 trees. Obviously, the main feature of this site is that it's on an overlook of a high hill looking down on the St. Louis River. It's really very beautiful. Well, after setting up my hammock, I decided to do a little filming from there to give you an idea of what my view looked like. I just love the sound of that river. This is a really nice site. Another nice feature of the High Landing site is the only one of their 4 sites that has a bear box. Okay, the latrine is admittedly a little rustic. This is a privacy fence that covers it. The latrine is a wooden box, and it ain't pretty. You're allowed to gather wood as usual at the backpack sites. Actually, I had a hard time finding a big supply, and so I just found a bunch of small sticks and had kind of small fires for the 2 nights. But here's the sound of the fire and the sound of the rushing water of the river behind it. Both of the mornings that I woke up at High Landing were absolutely beautiful and sunny. I really lucked out on the weather. I love the way the sun rises on the other side of the river and filters through the trees and the steam coming off. I was a happy camper, and I probably had my best 2 nights sleep while camping, probably because of the sound of the river. I tried to capture some images of the steam rising off the river in the morning. I think if you look in the middle of the screen, you'll be able to see it. Here's another view I think that might be a little more easy to see. This was just beautiful to watch. It lasted for about an hour in the morning. Well, after finally getting up and having breakfast, I left my campsite and I decided to walk around the other half of the Silver Creek Trail, which I hadn't seen yet. Again, it's a pretty easygoing trail, and along the way there's another one of those nice camp shelters. Once you get to the end of the trail, you encounter the river and all these great scenes with the rocks and the St. Louis River, and there are several places where you can sit and just enjoy the view. And you approach the swing bridge again from the other side. I crossed the bridge and took a couple more photographs. Again, you just can't take a bad picture off of this bridge. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I found a couple of places along the opposite shore to sit down and enjoy the rushing water. I had brought a light lunch with me, and I found a park bench near the swing bridge and just sat down there and ate and watched the world go by. It was a really relaxing afternoon. After that, I walked the 2.5 miles back to my site. I have friends and family who sometimes express concern about my possibly encountering bears while I'm camping out in the middle of nowhere, so I had to smile when I saw this sign in the parking lot that warned about bears that were rummaging through the garbage cans in the main campsite where all the people are. It occurred to me that they have a greater risk of seeing a bear than I do. Now I'm prepared. I have my bear repellent spray in case of a dire emergency. But I think that most backpackers like myself avoid bears by keeping food stowed away and making sure our campsites are clean. I really enjoyed Cooke State Park. It was a great place to hammock camp. Thank you very much to the staff of Cooke. You guys are great. And thank you all for watching.